Because you know there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. Not
It's all
conspiracy.
about control. To them we just cattle, numbers, battling each other while they creeping in the shadows, scheming, plotting, clocking your every move, locked in your mind, brainwashed until it's rocking. Got the population operating as they want them, symbolically mocking them, thinking nothing can stop them. So open your eyes to the lies of the evil, the poison in the minds and the lives of your people. And every time they lead you down a line to deceive you, and by then it's always too late to see through the veil that they hide behind, cause your third eye is blind. Better take a stand, we running out of time. Ain't nobody coming to save us, fuck what you had in mind. Arm yourself with the truth and jump behind the battle line. Can we turn it around? Yeah, it's possible. Divided we'll all fall, but united we're unstoppable. This is for the world, this is for the masses, attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth, searching for the proof, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell, beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth, searching for the truth, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some proof. This is for the world. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that little tech problem right there. No big deal. We're going to move right along. My name is James Cordiner. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today is June 3rd, 2023. You're watching A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. My website is freeyourmindne.com, Free Your Mind New England. So I've got a pretty good show lined up for everybody out there tonight. But first, very briefly, I just want to tell everybody that we are streaming on the One Great Work Network. Go over to One Great Work Network at onegreatworknetwork.com. There's over 70 content creators on the One Great Work Network. And just like this motto here, we are working our hardest to end slavery one mind at a time. And it's in the mind that we will come out of this condition of slavery. But more on that in a minute. Later on this year, September 23rd through the 24th, 2023, I'm going to be making a presentation at Seed 5 Metamorphosis. It's a free online conference about the occult, esotericism, freedom, history, philosophy, symbolism, and natural law, of course. And the featured lineup of speakers is just an all-star cast of speakers. Myself, James Cordiner, Douglas Martin, Nate Cap, my guest tonight, Mark Passio, Chris Jansen, Will Keller, Brandon Martin, Leslie Powers, Brandon Spencer, Patty Lager, Dorian Greens, Cullen Smith, Dylan McCormick, Mark Devlin, Corey Endrelat, Logan Hart, and Sethicus Boza. This is being put on by Brandon Martin and Nate Cap, the boys from over at the Cubbyhole podcast. Go over to seedtruth.com and learn more about this, and just keep your ears perked for this, because this is going to be something you're not going to want to miss. Next, our subject tonight. I've been trying to advertise for this pretty much all year so far. How to become the true media. This year, 2023. It's we're going to be talking about this tonight, so we'll get into that in a minute. But it is in the housekeeping notes anyway. So let me come back to my browser. Come on, close that out. All right, here we go. Okay, before I bring Mark in, I have a little monologue here. Only take a minute. And to be honest, I cannot stress this enough. We are at war, folks. We're in a spiritual war here. And the only peaceful solution to this conflict is to raise awareness of this condition of slavery we are in. And of course, to stop complying with illegitimate government. And we do this by educating the public about natural law and objective morality. This activism needs to happen on all fronts. This includes creating and publishing content on the internet to spread information about natural law and objective morality. this is the solution. Not learning about natural law, getting this information out about objective morality and natural law, it is the solution. I don't care what you say. I am correct about this. Deny it all you want. It will not make you correct. The time is now, though. No more excuses. Do you know or understand natural law? How about objective morality? Where are you? Where is your effort toward waking up humanity to the solution? In this day and age, with the technology that we have at our disposal, there is no excuse. And if you are not using these mediums and platforms for spreading the knowledge about natural law and objective morality, I personally have no choice but to question your integrity. What's the problem? Are you technologically illiterate? Are you just nervous to be on camera? Well, you no longer have to feel that way. We have a solution for that. We have the remedy. Mark Passio is not only the host of What on Earth is Happening, but he has also taken on the task of sharing his expert knowledge of technology and content creation / publication in the form of his seminar named How to Become the True Media. He is here with me this evening to discuss the seminar and to help eliminate the factors that may hold one back from taking the necessary steps to be doing the true one great work. Without any further ado, here is my guest tonight, Mark Passio. Mark, thank you for coming back to the show. I'm super pumped that you're here.
James, thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Great. So, how to become the true media. This is quite the seminar. I took it myself, and I'm coming back for a second time to kind of fill in some of the gaps and to be more more hands-on with it. I guess we just take it from the top. So longtime listeners of your show may already know this, but for people that might only, be new to your work or finding you through me, um, what drove you to do this? Like,
Well, what I did years ago, this seminar, is, my brainchild of many years ago, actually. And I was really sitting and deeply pondering and thinking about what some of the most effective ways to really disseminate the information about natural law and objective morality and really what's truly going on our planet, how it is an immoral condition, how it is slavery, a covert form of slavery, yes, moving rapidly, ever toward a more overt form of slavery, which is where the social engineers and dark occultists want to take it. And, you know, I was trying to do the very best that I could in disseminating that information, putting it in a very structured and progressive linear form, an initiation, if you will, which is what on earth is happening is. It's a structured course of information that acts as an initiation into this type of material, so that you give it to people piecemeal over time and they can expand their worldview. They can research on their own and look at associated material to the topics that I talk about. But just one person doing that is not going to accomplish the one great work of actually creating a condition of freedom and ending human slavery on this planet. It's no one individual could ever possibly be that powerful. I have no delusions of grandeur in that sense. I don't think anybody should have delusions of grandeur that they're like the singular savior of humanity or anything like that. The truth is going to be the savior of humanity. Okay. And the dissemination of the truth to the people of the world is how we're going to help accomplish that goal. And, I was thinking about what's the most effective way of doing that. So, we have to sit and really try to come to a deep understanding of not only the causal factors of what's creating the condition, but then what actual behaviors, what actual actions can we take to undo that condition, undo that immoral condition and rectify it? And the answer, as I, you know, really deeply came to a logical conclusion of what it must be, not just my opinion of it, but really using the trivium to get down to the essence of what it has to be according to law. Like if you're going to extinguish a fire, you have to either pour water on it or cut the oxygen supply, and then the fire goes out, because it doesn't have what it actually needs to continue to sustain itself. That's a physical law. The physical dynamics of fire work like that. Well, this is the same type of dynamic where we have to be able to use a truth discovery methodology to get to the truth about what actually is going to be required to fix the situation. It's not like you just um, pick something that you're comfortable with, right? A lot of people want to do that, right? They're like, well, I'm really good at gardening, so I'm going to get into helping people learn how to grow their own food, and that's the total way that I'm going to contribute to helping to change the human condition for the better. And that's not a terrible thing. I'm not saying to people, don't go out and do behaviors like that, right? Okay, wonderful. But set that aside for a moment and just think of this. You could have you could have all 8 billion souls on the planet, approximately, growing their own food. That is not going to necessarily change their morality. Someone can be a bad, evil person and still learn how to grow their own food. You can make new technologies that are based in free energy, that are based in, new health technologies. And that doesn't necessarily mean that these things are going to be used in a moral capacity. And if you have other evil people, they can come in and wipe that all out. They can say, I'm just going to take the food you just grew because I don't care whether that's theft and I don't care whether I'm doing harm to you by taking it. So if you go to the root, you keep tracing things backwards to where the problem begins, where it begins and ends. It begins and ends in wrong thinking, which leads to immoral behavior. That's the bottom line to all of it. It cannot be denied if someone is actually a logical being in their thought and actually thinks this through all the way and actually comes to the correct answer when they analyze it properly. And a lot of people will take exception to that. They'll disagree with that. They'll fight me on it, and they're still wrong. I have vetted this over and over and over and over and over again. And I could take people through the process of vetting it. It's not that difficult, actually. It just requires clear headed thinking on the solution. What I have discovered in the whole truth movement in general, the whole freedom movement, whatever you want to call people who say, I disagree with the way the world is actually running. I think that it's bad. I think we're heading down a wrong path. I want to change it. I want freedom. I don't want tyranny and enslavement. The thing that I find is the most completely off about what these people actually believe and think is which behaviors are required of us to actually do to change to change the human condition into what we say we want it to be versus what it is. Their thinking is so wildly astray from it because they have tuned their thinking to what they're comfortable doing instead of what the actual requirements for human freedom really are in nature. They don't want to look at what is the requirement from us by the natural world or by the creator, if you want to word it that way, by God. They don't want to look at those requirements, demands, necessities, however you want to look at that or word it. Okay. It's a necessity by nature. It's what's required of us by the creator. There is a condition that is immoral that must be changed. What is the root cause of the condition? By any measure that you look at it, the root cause is incorrect thinking. It is coming to the wrong conclusions about what is real and true. People's inability to distinguish reality from falsehood, truth from falsehood. That's the root cause of all of it, because then they're making their decisions on how they should be and act in the world based on those wrong answers that they derive from wrong thinking. Then they're going to go out into the world and act in a immoral, wrong capacity, doing harm, initiating harm to other sentient beings. And this is the condition that we have. This is exactly how it was derived. You could trace it all the way back into the human past. And if you're honest and if you've done the analysis correctly, you're going to come to the same conclusion. Anybody who truly knows what the answer to the problem that we're facing has done this in their own mental analysis and vetted it with the trivium process and come to the correct conclusion that there is only one solution. And that is an extraordinarily confrontational proposition to almost every human being alive. There are many, 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 many people looking at the whole scenario that will not acknowledge that this is the only solution, but it is. And that's an extremist position. Totally acknowledged, totally admitted, because the truth is extreme. The requirements for ending slavery are extreme. They're all one way, they're all one thing. And creation is charging us to do that one work. And what humanity has basically said, certainly up till this point, and basically continues to say, is I absolutely refuse to fulfill those requirements. I will do anything but that. I'll look into health concerns. I'll look into trying to elect politicians that are going to do better for us. I'll go and contribute monetary resources to causes and charities that I think are going to help people. I'll try to get involved in the exposition and creation of new technologies for a cleaner ecology or better energy systems. I'll try to reform the financial system and create the next great cryptocurrency that's going to solve all of our financial woes. And all of this is not the solution. These are things that can put band-aids on the problem for temporary periods of time, but evil is still at work in the world. Evil is still a more powerful force in the world than good because of how rampant we've let it run amok. And it will continuously come in and destroy anything new that we create until we eradicate the source of the evil. And the source of evil in this world is people's incorrect ability to make judgments that conform with natural law and objective morality, because they have not come to a correct way of thinking about those things. So, why are we not moving out of the condition of slavery? And anybody that's looking at the world, if they don't think that we are moving deeper into bondage and enslavement, they're delusional. They're absolutely kidding themselves and living in a delusional state of mind. Why is the great work of ending slavery not being accomplished in our world? And there's a very easy answer to that. The message of how to actually correct one's thinking and come to the correct conclusions about what moral behavior is versus what it is not, versus what is immoral behavior, is not being conveyed to the general body of the human population. Because if it were conveyed and it were common sense knowledge and people simply aligned their behavior to it and acted upon what they knew to be common sense and what they knew to be good for them and what they knew to be good for everyone, we would not be in this situation. We would already have a condition of freedom. And most people do not understand how to communicate that knowledge. Number one, they fail to see that this is an issue of communication. It's an issue of educating people by communicating with them. And it doesn't mean that you have to communicate them in a one-on-one personal way. You have to put information out into the world widely and freely, and a lot of people have to do that. This is how the mainstream media works. All you have to do is analyze a system that has been effective, right? There's no question in anybody's mind, or there shouldn't be any question in anybody's mind. The mainstream media has been tremendously effective in changing human thought for the worse. They're constantly telling people lies. They're constantly telling people false versions of reality. They're constantly embedding into people's minds incorrect thought that leads to incorrect action. And there's a ton of them. There are millions of people worldwide who do this job, who take a paycheck to do this job, to lie to people and to propagate a false worldview and incorrect thinking to the masses of people and receive a paycheck for doing it every day. There's no question in anybody's mind that is one of the biggest parts of the problem that has led to the current human condition. So think about how they do it. Think about how the dark occultists do it. Think about how the social engineers do it, the mind controllers of our world. They propagate their incorrect and misleading and completely untrue information out to the masses of the people through a wide body of human beings called the mainstream media. Every single solitary day, they keep pumping it out over and over and over and over and over, nonstop, repetitiously. And that has generated the aggregate collective human mindset of completely incorrect thought that has led to completely immoral behavior in the world, and therefore leading all of humanity into a condition of abject slavery. Okay? This we have to look at as a given. This is simply how it already is. So, going back to the question, why have we not yet solved the problem? Human beings don't understand that this is a matter of the communication of correct knowledge. Number one, they believe that you need to do something new, that you need to go and do a new task and bring something new into the world. There is nothing new that is required to be done. There is no new behavior. I tell people that the solution is not a positive solution. And that doesn't mean that it's not like a happy-go-lucky, we're going to have fun doing this solution. That's not what I mean by positive. The solution is not a positive solution, meaning the solution is not something new that we need to do or enact in the world. The solution is helping humanity to understand what they must stop doing, what they must no longer continue to do, and what they must say no to. They must say no to doing immoral behavior for a paycheck. They must say no to continuing to condone and support evil and conduct it themselves. They must cease and desist in the behaviors that do initiate harm to other sentient beings. And so when I was analyzing what is the actual solution, what do we have to do to get out of this condition, I came to the conclusion we have to propagate that knowledge, and people have to know how to propagate that knowledge. It's not just a matter of knowing it. See, you get a lot of people that say, I'm going to just watch this, and this. I'm going to keep watching things. I'm going to keep pulling information into myself. And I'm just going to become a bastion of knowledge. I'm just going to become a wealth of information. And then they stop there. That's it. They're like, okay, I know what I want to know, and I might just keep listening to things to see if anything new is going to come out of this. And they're waiting for the new thing, like the news on television, literally, like this is something new we're showing you now because it's happening right now. That's where the idea of news even comes from. And we have news junkies in the freedom community, so-called. Wrap a healthy dose of double quotes around freedom and community. Okay. In this so-called movement, in this collection of people, of individuals, we have people that pay lip service to freedom, but don't really want to understand the requirements for achieving it. Okay. And They have not yet come to the correct conclusion that we have to propagate the knowledge of objective morality and natural law widely and freely through becoming the people who speak this continuously, all the time, every single day, just like the regular lying mainstream media. We need a new form of media, not addicting people to news, okay? There's nothing new under the sun. We need to get them to understand what people must stop doing. It's a negative solution. To implement the negative solution, you have to know how to propagate information through technology. Is that not how the mainstream media has propagated all of their lies and disinformation and wrong thinking? They've done it through technology. Radio, television, newspapers, these are all technology. These are publishing and communication technologies. See, to me, it's maddening in its own right, in its own sense, that people cannot come to this conclusion, that it even has to be explained or spoken aloud. That it's not such common sense that you can look at how all of the false information that has led to the degradation and enslavement of humanity has been propagated, and people can't simply realize that we just need to do the same thing except tell the damn truth. You know, this should be such easy common sense that a 4-year-old can figure it out. And we have adults, alleged adults, wrap that in double quotes too, that can't figure this out for themselves. And then, even if they do acknowledge that's the solution, they'll say, I don't want to be a part of that because that's uncomfortable for me. And I know people like this personally. I know people like that all over the place. That's not for me. That's for someone else to do. Well, they're wrong. That people who think like that are wrong. And I'll say it right to them, and I do say it right to them. It's for everyone to do. Because if you're not speaking out against evil, if you're not lending your voice to that chorus to enhance and expand its power to influence the minds of all of humanity for the better, you're part of the problem. You're kicking back, doing nothing, thinking that the world's going to change on its own or other people should change it, and you shouldn't be involved in the effort to change it. It's the height and epitome of human selfishness. It is Satanism in its own right. That's how I will actually, that's how extreme I'll talk about people who won't put their voice out there. It's not that just you're fearful about communicating and speaking publicly. It's not just you're somehow ignorant and you just don't know what to do. It's you are lazy and cowardly, and you are allowing and tacitly saying yes to evil by refusing to say no to it publicly and out in the open. And guess what? I don't care who's offended by that. I don't really care what you think of that statement. It's true. And all of the people who aren't participating in that, you guys are the problem. That's the problem. That people will not lend their voice to that chorus and say no to evil collectively in the aggregate sense, and then propagate true, correct thinking regarding morality and propagate common sense knowledge about how we should behave. So, in my analysis of this, I realized one, people don't have the information. What on earth is happening fulfills that. Okay, all of that information is publicly available, and not just what on earth is happening, plenty of other people's work. If you don't want to take it from me, you can take it from plenty of other people who have put out the information about what's really going on in our world and about what real objective morality actually is. I feel like I've done that in a very successful way, in the sense of that I put it out there in a way that anybody can understand. Not so successful in how many people it's actually reached, but successful in the sense that I've fulfilled my requirement to do that work by creating media to explain those things. And they are explained in a very clear way that anybody can understand if they simply apply themselves a little bit to try to understand it. The second thing is, people do not understand how themselves to do that work. They don't understand how to put that information out there into the world. Now, why don't they know how to do it? If you say to people, do you generally know what's going on in the world? Do you know how evil things are? Do you know what all the machinations that are taking place? Do you understand about all the mind control techniques that are being used? Do you understand how immoral people's behavior is? Do you understand we're heading into slavery? You'll have a million people in this whole movement saying, yo, yeah, I know that. I know all those things. And then you say to them, how have you communicated that to other people in a public capacity? Have you become a public figure communicating that knowledge to people all over the world who you don't know? Or have you complained to your mom and dad? Have you complained to your sister and brother? Have you complained to your aunt and uncle? Have you complained to your niece or nephew or your friends when you go out to have a beer? Have you gone the extra step to say, I'm going to formalize this information in the form of some type of media, right? Such as what you do, such as what I do. And then I'm going to just put that out there and let that be an archive of knowledge for people to come and take it into themselves. This is what we need to do. And people simply don't know how to do that because they have kicked back for the last 30 damn years while computer technology has continued to progress, and they've learned nothing. They've started in ignorance, and this is their learning curve. It just goes like this. It's a straight line of ignorance. I know zero and I continue to know zero, and then 10 years go by and I still know zero, 20 years go by and I still know zero, 30 years go by and I still know zero. They're not investing the time and energy that is required, the time, attention, and energy that is required to learn the skill sets by which you can propagate that knowledge. So how in the hell do they expect it to propagate? What they really do, their thinking really works like this, James. Somebody else will do that. That's someone else's job. That's not my job. I know. It's been said to me. It's been said right to my face. I've had people who I actually consider friends say that directly to my face after everything I've done. Imagine that. Picture that.
How can anybody really justify thinking that someone else is going to do this work for them when they have just as much physical, spiritual involvement in this world, as much involvement as you and I?
Yep.
They're on the playing field on the same in the same respect, and they just lay back with their twiddling their thumbs,
Yep.
thinking someone else is going to step
Yep.
in and they're going to be the one to take the bullet, or they're going to be the one to throw themselves on the tracks, whatever
And
metaphor you
that's
want.
the passivity that television creates in people and
Exactly.
even movies. You're not watching life on a television screen, folks. This requires active participation and doing something yourself
Yeah,
to move the solution forward.
it's like a savior complex.
That's what it is. It's the belief that it will work out because some external entity other than myself will deal with the problem and I'll be okay. Could you imagine, first of all, that in and of itself is satanic thought? That is satanic thought.
Mm,
And if people don't understand what I mean by that, you research my work on Satanism. We're
mhm.
not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about the propagation of this information through becoming the true media. But if you don't understand what I mean by somebody saying that's for someone else to do and not for me to do, is Satanism. Literally is satanic thought. Okay. And my retort always to that is what it really truly means is you are content to allow future generations of children to suffer even more enormous trauma and torture than people have already suffered up till this point, because the trauma and the torture is going to ramp up and up and up to the point where it's going to be a torturous existence even to live in this world in the future for children. Like, it's bad enough that adults will have to endure that, but imagine people that say the unborn generations that are going to have to live in this world like this, I could give a shit. I don't care about. I can't be bothered to lift a fucking finger. And I'm sorry for getting nuts about it, but that's how I feel. I wept yesterday about thinking about this, cried my eyes out to a point where I had to like pull myself together, you know, and I had to like get myself together literally emotionally because I was weeping about it. Okay. Thinking about that this is still people's mindset in the world that don't want to get actively involved in this. So I'll try to pull my emotions together here and continue. People don't know how to do it. They literally don't know how to use any aspect of technology, most people. Most people are what I call Ludtards. They're Luddite retards, okay? They're retarded when it comes to any technology. And a Luddite means somebody who's afraid of technology, doesn't want to use it, doesn't want to go near it, thinks it's not for them to touch. And they're basically completely slow on the uptake, which is what the word retarded actually means definitionally. Okay. It's not a negative connotation. It just means you're slow. You process things slowly, you get things slowly, you move slowly. To retard something means to slow it down, if you want to look it up in Merriam-Webster. Okay. So it's not an insult to any class of people for using that word. It's a definitional word that means to slow. All right. And they're slow. They're slow in the understanding of what the solution is, and they're slow on the understanding of how do you accomplish that through technology. See, the solution is a philosophical one. It can't be anything else because you have to generate the correct thinking that leads to correct behavior, and then the problem goes away. But there's a technological component aspect to the solution. We have to utilize technology in the proper way that it is intended to be used to propagate this information. That's why the time period that we live in is wondrous. It's actually a great thing. We have the solution at our fingertips. We have the ability to communicate that knowledge at every one of our fingertips. Yet, a tiny, 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 tiny pissant amount of humanity is actually doing that work. That's the problem. And the people who might want to do it don't know how. They don't have the knowledge on how do you use this technology to put your voice out there to the masses of people and educate them morally. So, in developing the solution, I realized people have not understood the completely inseparable role that technology has with human freedom. You cannot separate the two. If freedom is here, technology is right next to it. And I'm sorry, if anybody doesn't believe or accept that, once again, you are incorrect and you have not applied the correct analytical, logical thought to that process. You have not come to the correct conclusion. There is a correct answer regarding that. And technology and freedom go hand in hand. Obviously, philosophy and freedom are one and the same. They're so inseparable that I would say that they're basically the same thing. Technology rides with that, and it cannot really be separated from it. There's a tech component to getting the philosophy out there. But most human beings are in a state of 100% complete and utter ignorance regarding how to utilize that technology. So, what on earth is happening is the philosophical component to the solution that I've put forward in my work. And how to become the true media is the technological aspect of the solution that can help people to learn how do you put this information forward in the form of media that you create. Hence the term how to become the true media. And it's not rocket science, folks. It's not rocket science. Just think of it from this perspective, right? If you do a social experiment and you line up a bunch of people that you consider are pretty much awake people, they don't have to be perfect in their understanding, but just identify 10 people that you say you're a very awake soul. You're very knowledgeable about what's really going on in the world. How did you get there? What did you do to get your mind into that condition of knowledge? What are they going to say? Tell me the things that would be the answers from them. Seriously, I'm saying, tell me.
They I'm sorry, my daughter was crying upstairs. I had my mic on
No
mute.
problem. I'll briefly repeat. If you lined up 10 people were very, very, very knowledgeable and awake, according to your estimation, they really understand what's going on in the world. And you said, how did you work your mind into that condition? What did you actually do to receive the information that put your mind into the condition of being a very aware and awake person? What would they tell you?
I would expect the majority of them to tell me that they, probably picked up on a few things off of maybe social media or YouTube. Perhaps they, listened to a podcast. Perhaps they were browsing their local bookstore and found an interesting title from a psychologist such as Carl Jung. And maybe they found something about education from somebody, say, like John Taylor Gatto,
Right.
and their interest was piqued, and next thing you know, they're off to the races. But
Right. So
all of these,
the commonalities there are people disseminated information in the form of publishing and communication in some capacity. And then that information was available for those people who are now awake to take into themselves through other publishing and communications mediums. And how did most of them do it? They did it through, some are going to tell you they did it through reading physical books, right? I read a lot of books. This was part of my awakening process. Books were one of the key forms because I began my awakening process before the internet was as widespread and before the internet was as accessible and fast and had the amount of content that it did. Like, I grew up in the infancy of the internet when people didn't even know what it was. We had 14.4 K dial-up connections, which were absolute treacherously horrible. Finally, high-speed internet came in, when I was around, in my 20s, and then then we're off to the races with the information because people were able to publish more easily. It's all a publishing solution, right? Almost everybody who's awake today is going to tell you that they awaken from researching all of this information on websites, on by watching digital videos, by listening to digital audio such as podcasts and lectures, and by reading books digitally, even. Okay, not just physical ones, but digital books in the form of PDF, EPUB, etc., on tablets. That's how people awaken to what's really going on in the modern day. It's called multimedia. It's called all different formats and forms of media that are created by other people that you can then absorb by downloading them or viewing them on the internet. The internet is the commonality. That's the medium for the expression of that media, for the dissemination of that media. Without the internet, if you totally cut the invention of the internet off, how far along do you think the awakening of humanity would be, even compared to the pittance that it's at now? It would be non-existent because the publishing opportunities would not be present. People would not have put all these videos online. They would have not put all these digital books online, all this digital audio online, all these interviews online, etc. It could not have happened at the rate that it has. And even the rate that it is going now is unbelievably slow and fraught with disinformation and a lot of lies. But it would have been non-existent without the internet. The internet is the glue of all the media that gets created. People put it onto the internet so that other people can then download it or stream it and take it into their minds. How can people not grasp this simple factor? I personally find it unfathomable that people can't think this through and come to the correct conclusion, and then know what they have to do. Just know it organically and then do it because you want freedom and you don't want to condemn future children to a life of tyranny and enslavement. I don't understand how it's not almost an automatic process that you go, that's the solution. That's what's required of me. I'm going to do it. The end. To me, it's a no-brainer. I didn't even think about not doing it once I learned what the real answer was. I just did it, period, because it was the right thing to do.
yeah.
And hardly anybody thinks about it like this. Hardly anybody in the world thinks about it like this. I have to make an entire presentation just on what we're talking about. Literally the role of technology in freedom. And maybe that's what I'll call it. The role of technology in human freedom. You know, I really need to do that. Maybe that'll be my presentation for Seed 5. You know, I'm going to pick between the couple of, conferences, virtual conferences that are coming up, the true 7 deadly sins versus the false 7 deadly sins, and the role of technology in human freedom. They're going to be my short form presentations. And then I probably do really long ones and elaborate them on future What on Earth is Happening episodes. But going back to my point, that's how people are going to tell you that they're awakened. So, what is your contribution to then awakening other people once you feel like you've been awakened? You have to take the information and put it back out there in your own way. Not everybody is going to accept what's really going on in the world from Mark Passio. And I'm, once again, under no delusions of grandeur that that's going to be the case. I'll be the first person to tell you, most people will not be able to handle my energy and hear what I'm saying. And I get it all the time from people. Mark, you're too much for me. I can't hear. I don't understand what you're saying because I can't get past you. And that in and of itself is mind control that we need to explain to people. You need to work your mind into a condition where you can listen to anybody speak and extract the information itself and not pay attention to them, their personality, the timbre of their voice, etc. The clothes that they wear, what they look like, all of these things are inconsequential. Either the information they're saying is true or it's and helpful or it's not. And most people can't even do that, because they're in a condition of such mind control that they say, I have to hear this in a form that actually resonates with my comfort level, or I throw out all the information wholesale. You know, imagine that that's where the bulk of the population is still at. And we're not, how many people are even talking about that dynamic? Right? I think that's one of the most important things, that a roadblock to learning that people could disseminate, that the people could explain when they learn how to put media out into the public. So the brainchild that I came up with was the only way the one great work of ending human slavery is ever going to continue, progress, and ever be successful, if it ever is people have to learn publishing and communication technologies, meaning you have to learn how to use a computer effectively and efficiently to create media to disseminate the information of natural law and objective morality. There is no other solution. Unless more media is created regarding these inextricably important topic to creating human freedom, natural law and objective morality, unless we have an unbelievable amount more media in that regard put out by all of the people of this planet and making it common sense to everyone, do not ever in your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, in your grandchildren and great grandchildren's lifetime, ever expect slavery to be ended. It will grow in its power. Future generations will be overtly enslaved. We will go back to a society, and I'm not saying this for fear porn or making people uncomfortable. This is the truth of how humanity is going to progress if this work is not accomplished. We are going to see such greater forms of trauma, torture, and enslavement for future generations of human beings that it is going to make what we have endured and seen look like a party happening compared to what the children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren are going to have to live through, if they do live through it, if they do actually physically even survive it, because many of them will be just culled from the earth before they even have a time to live and experience life. That's where things are headed. And that's not fear porn. That's the truth of the matter of what the enslavers of humanity have in store for this species. Because as we refuse to do that work, the universe is saying back to us in karma, you've refused to fulfill the requirement for freedom, so please have more of what you want. more slavery and more hardcore slavery that isn't so comfortable, slavery that gets excessively and increasingly more and more uncomfortable and torturous. That's what's coming. And I'm not saying that to get more people to take my course. I'm saying that because that's the absolute fact and truth of the matter. Whether you take the course or not is certainly I want people to take it, but it's inconsequential to what I just said. Whether people take it or not, if people don't propagate the information about natural law and objective morality to the masses of people, slavery will become even more entrenched and evil will become even more powerful in the future of this species. And all I have to say is that's what most people are choosing. They're not choosing the positive outcome. They're not choosing the solution. They're kicking back and they're content to be part of the problem. They're content to try to watch other people do that hard work of changing human minds for the better and building better people, helping to assist them in building themselves into a better person is more accurate. And they will kick back and just say, I don't want to do that work because that's uncomfortable for me because it involves me learning something that I don't intend to learn and that I'm uncomfortable learning. And guess what? I hear this every single solitary day. Picture, as much as I've done, people will tell me right to my face, I'm not interested in learning technology and I'm not interested in speaking out. Why would you ever even say those words to me? Like, keep what an uncaring being you are to yourself, in my presence, at least. You look at the sacrifice of my life and my comfort that I've made over the years, and I'm very bitter about it. Very bitter about it. I'll be the first person to tell you I'm a bitter, bitter, bitter individual in my life. I don't want to do this. This is junk to me. I know this stuff. I don't want to have to keep saying the same damn thing over and over again. That's hell. That's the definition of hell to me. Okay? I gave up the best years of my life to do this shit. Okay? And they're gone and I can never get them back in this incarnation. And I'm extremely embittered by the tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of movement that created. It's essentially nothing. For all intents and purposes, it's a big goose egg zero. Not saying I haven't helped people individually, but it's amounted to a huge nothing burger globally. Because we can't get through to these hard-headed freaks. You know, we just can't get through to them. They're just invested in doing nothing and not being part of the solution. They're investing in remaining in their ignorance, not learning how to use technology to communicate publicly, and just sitting there waiting for somebody else to do it for them. And you expect that's going to get it done on this planet? It's completely delusional thinking. And I don't know, that's really all I can say. If you're a technological Luddite and you don't understand technology, you don't know how to use a computer to create something, to make a form of media like the show that we're doing right now. If you can't do that, you're a part of the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Get as offended as you like. It's going to be true eternally, no matter what you think or say. That's it. And I don't know how else to say it to you. Like, be mad, get offended, you're still fucking wrong. And if you want to learn how to do those things, I'm an expert in those things. And I don't have to teach anybody that. Honestly, I don't. Honestly, do you think I want to have to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again to go through things that are such basic things to me and such common sense to me that I'm like, this is a total fucking torture to me to even have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And it's like even doing the whole thing with what on earth is happening is like you're teaching a remedial class that isn't really truly learning, because if they were learning, they would be doing this. They wouldn't be sitting listening to me. They would be just doing this. And how few of them are. What? We have 70 content creators on the One Great Work Network who I've personally looked at their work and said, wow, that's pretty good. That teaches natural law. We should bring them on the network. Think about how is that going to propagate this knowledge worldwide? You know how many viewers we get at any one time on this network? Like, we might have the most people that are ever been watching, like at like 35 or 40. And we think that's going to accomplish anything? And I'm not saying that to berate anybody or make people feel dejected. I'm explaining how piss little this whole endeavor is compared to where it needs to go. It's a nothing burger. And that's not demeaning anybody's work. I think people do great work, including yourself, James. And I appreciate your efforts, as I do everybody on the network. So I'm not saying that to demean anybody. I'm trying to get the people who are listening out there who have really done nothing themselves to realize you actually believe that the effort that is made thus far is good enough and is out there enough, and we're going to change humanity based on that effort. You're delusional. Completely delusional if you're not actively becoming involved.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. You got to let it out.
Yep.
It's got to be said. It's, we're all in this together, and if it's like what you're saying, about natural law, about objective morality. If you've gathered enough knowledge about this, what's holding you back? Like, this is
Fear.
a part of it. And
They have to conquer internal fear.
Yeah.
And a big part of this course is addressing that. We will address that and show you methods of how to pass through that fear, to let that fear pass over you and do what needs to be done. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is right action in spite of fear being present in the internal makeup. That's another thing people don't seem to understand. You can still be fearful of being a public figure and still do it. You don't have to conquer the fear of public speaking. You can still have that internally and say, I will not let that hold me back from the action that I know that I am required to do. And
Yeah.
do it the whole time, still being afraid to do it. Plenty of people do that, and they just fight through it, man.
I'm a perfect example of that. I am absolutely terrified of being on camera. It's something that scares the shit out of me.
Luckily for me,
Yeah.
myself, I was very comfortable with that from a young age because I performed on stage in bands since I was like 14, 15 years old. So it was never a thing to me. It was never even a consideration to me. I was always very comfortable getting on a stage, getting up in front of people, performing, etc. And music helped with that. That's why music is such an awesome thing and such a big part of my life. It helped me get ready to do this. So I just want to tell people how to become the true media is. It's a 23-week course on technology that is not just about technology. There, you could look at all of the curriculum of what we're going to teach. I teach basic operating system skills up to how to make a text outline, all the way through how to make presentations, how to work with graphics, how to format text and graphics, how to do page layouts, posters for advertising, how to do audio work, if you're going to make a simple audio based podcast, how to do video work, how to make a video like a documentary or a video podcast, how to make your website to make a clearinghouse for all that information, a storage area, and publish that online, how to make sure your stuff doesn't get censored, what platforms you can use that are relatively censorship proof. All of that's going to be covered. We're even going to teach you how to mine the dark web for information and hidden knowledge and occulted knowledge that is censored. We have methods for that. But most of all, what it's really going to do is it's going to teach you life skills. This is not just a technological seminar. Yes, it is a tech seminar, but it's not just a tech seminar. It teaches life skills. It teaches persistence. It teaches patience. It teaches never giving up. It teaches focus and attention and dedication. The life skills are focused on throughout the entirety of the technological teachings. Okay. And you're going to come away from this with enhanced and improved skills in life, not just in what you can do with a computer. And I hope that that comes through. When you took the seminar, I hope that you garnered that from it and realized there's more taught here than just simple computer technology. This goes into areas of life that all of us could stand to use improvements in, and we're always learning and growing and enhancing
Oh,
throughout the course of our lives.
oh, for sure. One of the mantras that I've adopted, and many people may have heard me say this, is I'm always a big proponent of the idea of pushing through when you have a technical difficulty, when things just don't seem to be jiving right, and you might be getting that little fear in the back of your head, and you want to shut it down, but no, you got to push through.
That's right.
That's something that really, when I heard you giving that advice in the course, that really stuck with me, and it's really sticking with me to this day. And it's been almost a year since the the course I took even began. So I
It's
mean,
number 10 out of the 10 tenets. I teach 10 basic life tenets of technology that apply not only to technology, but life. And the 10th one is never, ever give up. If you're going to be a success at anything, you can't be the kind of person that's wishy-washy that says, well,
yeah,
this isn't working out, I'm going to go do something else. You have to press and press and press and just nonstop, do it nonstop until you improve at it.
and
So
the other
the
one was
yes,
don't let perfect be the enemy of the good.
of course.
And that for me was very comforting, because I have a tendency to hold myself back until it's good enough for me,
Right.
and that's like a form of perfectionism.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like, no, just you have to kind of embrace that side of the brain, the logical side of the
That's right.
brain, and and just be like, no, this is what it is. This is the information that it is, and it needs to be put out. And that's why I do live streams,
Right.
because it holds me back from doing post production.
That's right.
And
Me too.
and
I do
like,
the same thing
and if
because
I
I tend to be a perfectionist as well. And
yeah,
I have to say, you have to allow it to be what it is, and then you improve as you go. And when I listen back and watch back things that I've done, I'm never disappointed. And I'm not. That's not bragging. It's not me being an egotist. I simply try to do my best. I explain it in a cohesive way. Then when I watch back, and I don't really like watching my stuff back. I don't do it very often, but I do it to check my work sometimes and see gauge how that I do there. And I'm never disappointed in what I put forward. I always go, "Wow, that's damn powerful." Not many people are saying anything like that. I'm proud of that, and rightfully so. I should be. I work hard to learn what I learn. I work hard to disseminate what I understand. I take it very seriously. I put time and effort and energy into it, and I think it comes out very well. And I think anybody that applies themselves can understand it and then pay it forward to other people as well. So I'm going to wrap up because I do have to basically get going in a minute or two. But I want to tell people, if you are interested in learning how to do the actual great work of disseminating the knowledge of what's really going on this world, the illegitimacy of government, how government is slavery, how are held in an immoral condition of duress that should be ended, and freedom is important and should be protected and defended and grown rather than diminished as it has been over many centuries and certainly rapidly in the modern world, then you have to be able to formalize that information and communicate it to other people. That is the essence of ending slavery on this planet. That is the solution, is moral education. There is no other answer than teaching moral philosophy to the masses of people. Every other so-called solution will be doomed to failure because people will not have learned the difference between right and wrong behavior and will come in and screw it all up. You have to have the foundation, the understanding of moral behavior and aligning one's own behavior to that. And then you build things on top of that solid foundational framework, not the other way around. You don't start the other things first and then expect people to magically learn morality. Morality has to come first. And if you're interested in how to do that through technology by learning computers and learning how to formalize that information and put it out there on the internet widely and freely for all to see, to hear, to watch, to understand, and to share, then go to the website howtobecomethetruemedia.com. You can read about the curriculum and everything that we're going to teach in it, which I touched on tonight. And there's an enrollment button that you can click there that will take you to my gifts area on my website where you can enroll in the seminar. Howtobecomethetruemedia.com is the website. Check it out. And if it resonates with you, and if you feel that you're ready to take this step, then please do go ahead and enroll. And James, I want to just thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain to people what How to Become the True Media is, why I feel it's very, very important for the solution of ending slavery on our world, and how how this came to be my brainchild and the seminar that I've taught over the last 3 years. This year will be the 4th year that I've taught it, and it's gone tremendously well every year. I expect this year to be no different. So I want to thank you also for the work that you've done and being a phenomenal content creator on the One Great Work Network and doing your part in helping to end human slavery. And thank you for giving me this opportunity here on your show.
No problem. No problem at all. I had some questions written down, but you in your form, you've answered them. I didn't even have to ask them. But I do have one question actually that we should talk about briefly.
Sure.
Let's say someone out there is hearing this conversation and it is too late for them to enroll. Say it's past July 4th and they've come across this as a rerun.
Yes.
But hey, they're hearing this and they're wicked inspired to do something. Where
Yes.
should a person in that position begin?
Well, you can always enroll the following year because I'll be doing this pretty much as long as I'm alive. So unless something happens to me, there won't be another, if something happens to me, there won't be another How to Become the True Media. But if I'm still alive and kicking, I'm going to be teaching this seminar every year. So you can wait until the next year if you want, or you can just be an autodidactic learner. And you don't have to learn this from me. There's tons of tutorials that teach stuff like this. The benefit of learning it from me is I'm a pretty decent high level expert on all of this stuff. And I think I've shown my work publicly to show I can do this. I have a lot of credentials and I present my credentials actually in the first week of the seminar to tell people what my background is. And the main reason is that you will be guided in a very structured way. Okay, it's a very stepwise linear progression. A lot of people, one of their main complaints with learning stuff like this is, I don't know where to begin. I really structure it in a very formalized way where I take you where you do need to know this first.
Right.
And then you build this on top of that first thing.
Right.
It's a very linear progression. And I think that's one of the strengths of the seminar, quite frankly, where people may have a little bit more difficult time just with self-guided, self-directed learning, although that's always a great thing to do it like that. But it may be a little bit difficult to get the ball rolling at the beginning because people don't really know the order that they should take things. And that's where I think the strength of How to Become the True Media really is.
And all the while, it's very hands-on. It's very
Interactive.
interactive. Yes. In your
Yep.
face. You're not just, it's not a lecture series so
No,
much.
you could ask me questions
Yeah,
and I will answer your questions in real time on the spot
Yeah,
and show you things
it's a
through my
23
screen sharing.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a 23 week long, well, 1 day a week long tutorial.
Yes.
Downright to it.
And
So
there's a pre-class where we socialize and I answer questions, and there's a post-class where I answer questions. Then there's a post class where all the students socialize among themselves and they can network with each other and form connections with each other. So I make it a social thing in addition to be a learning thing, in addition to a learning thing.
well, I guess that does it. It's been a fantastic evening, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait for this next season. And
And enrollment is open until the 4th of July at
Wonderful.
11:59 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States on July 4th. I will keep it open through the day of the 4th of July until just about midnight.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, Mark, it's been real, man. Thank you so much. And I can't wait. I guess I'm going to see you in a couple weeks up at Pork Fest.
Absolutely. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be
Yeah,
my first one, so I'm really looking forward to it. And James, thank you so much again for the work that you do and for the opportunity to, promote the upcoming How to Become the True Media seminar for this year. I really appreciate it.
well, I appreciate you doing it, man. And about the feelings of discouragement. I I don't know. I care a lot about this, and you've been a huge influence on me,
Thank you.
and a lot of other people. And there's a bridge that needs to be gapped for a lot of individuals out there. And I do think that a certain amount of me personally, I do think there's a certain amount of patience that needs to be
Sure.
had. And but as far as your discouragement goes, I hope that you find a way to navigate those murky waters,
So do I.
and don't let those things, don't drown in them, please.
Yeah, it's my personal battle every day, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem, man. So yeah, we'll let you get out of here, and thank you again, and have a great night.
You too. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, Mark Passio, ladies and gentlemen. So that was a great interview. Go to Mark Passio's website, whatonearthishappening.com. Go to how to become the true media.com, sign up for that course, and get in the pit, jump around a little bit, and let's get out there and produce some content and get the word of natural law and objective morality out there. So I am going to be parting ways now, but before I do, I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. We had some great activity in the chat tonight. We got we have Sarah Cross in the chat, Kenneth Small, thank you guys for being here. Conrad Rogos, thank you for being. Chris Nelson, and we had Sean McCann in the chat, Angela Green. So we got some new faces. Somebody named Heavy Conscience that's in the chat. So we got some new faces in there, and some regulars. I appreciate you guys being here this evening. Something that I was hoping to roll out tonight that we didn't get to because of some other circumstances going on, but I have figured out a way to get people to be able to like call into the show, and hopefully next week when we have, if everything works out, it's like you don't announce who you're having on the next week or whatever, but I'll do it now. If everything works out, we're going to have Will Keller and Logan Hart on the show next week, and we're going to be talking about animism. And so I have figured out a way that will work, and to get people to be able to come onto the live stream and ask some questions. And so we're gonna roll that out next week. I was hoping to do that tonight, but we had some time constraints. And so anyways, go one last thing that I would like to advertise. You might have just heard me mention that I'm making my way up to Pork Fest, and this is the first time I'm going as well. So what I guess is, what I've been doing to try to like create value and to bring some ideas to the marketplace is to like come up with neat t-shirts that people can purchase from the t-shirt store that I've set up online. And you can go to my website, freeyourmindne.com, and from there you can find the store, and it'll send you right over there. You could get a t-shirt. I also accept direct donations. Direct donations, any way that like a couple bucks come my way is going to be rolled right back into the show. And the trip up to Pork Fest is turning into a kind of networking situation where I'm going to be able to go up there and meet some people that are really doing some work, and I'm going to be able to work with them further into the future. So I really appreciate any help that can be sent my way to make sure that these things can happen. every dollar that gets raised through donations will be rolled back into keeping this project going and growing. So if you can make a small donation, that would be very much appreciated. And I thought there was something else, but now it's escaping me. But that's okay because we have more time to discuss that later on. So with all of that being said, one last big thank you and round of applause for Mark Passio, um, and and another round of applause for all of you that listen to this show. I love you all. I would not do this if I didn't. We are really trying to make a difference here, and we need more people to get in and start fighting back. And like I said at the beginning of the show, speaking up and raising awareness is the most peaceful way that we're going to do this. And I do not want things to turn hot, violent. I'm against violence. All of this, everything that I've done is to put a stop to violence. And there needs to be more people out there that want to stop violence and not tolerate it anymore. And if you consider yourself a person who doesn't tolerate violence, then it's time for you to speak up as well. Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen, and I can't wait to see you all again.